The next lesson that we're going to look at is the lesson on modeling, using models to find the volume of composite figures. Again, we want to give kids those centimeter cubes so that they can create this first model that we're going to see today. It's really important that we're also stressing today that volume is additive. And so like we've seen that we can like add all the cubes from the first layer and all the cubes from the second and all the cubes from the third. But then yesterday we worked on more multiplication using our formulas. Today we're going back to seeing it as more additive, either counting to find the total number of cubes, or the other way that we could do this is finding the volumes of the separate prisms and then adding them together. So either way we're going to be adding today. So a composite figure is made up of two or more three-dimensional figures. Like I would bring in two cereal boxes and put them together and show students that this is a composite figure. So we're actually going to have kids build this one. It's a 4x2 on the bottom, and then on the top is a 2x2. And so like students should actually build this at their desks. And then we're going to count the number of blocks needed to create the bottom layer. And so students can count, well, this is 4x2, it's 8. I can actually see all 8. And then we're going to count the blocks needed to create the top. And again, like 2x2, I can see that this is 4. Add the total number of blocks together. We had 12. How many total cubes did it make? Did it take to build the figure? 12. What is the volume? 12. And then like have them turn and talk. What was the strategy that we used to find the volume? The strategy that we used was that we added we found the volume of each, we counted the number of cubes at each layer, and then we added those together. Okay, so like counting and then adding, counting, then adding. The second example is going to be a little different. Now, I want us to actually split up this composite figure into two separate prisms. So we can have kids sketch this in, or if you want to on your hard copy that you copy for kids, you can sketch this in as well. It doesn't make a difference, honestly, if you think that kids are going to get hung up here on like the drawing of it. I wouldn't label it. I would have kids label it, right, with you, because we're splitting this into two prisms. I see this as a 2x4x1, right, 2x4x1, and then I see this large prism here on the bottom as a 4x4x2. Right? And it's important that we're not including the 3 because that includes the prism that we showed right here. So this is prism 1 and prism 2. So we first break up the composite figure into two separate prisms, find the volume of prism 1. So here I've labeled 2x4x1. Here I've shown my work. Here I've labeled 4x4x2. Here I've shown my work. Add the volumes together so I can see that I have 40 cubic centimeters. Stop and have them turn and talk. What was the strategy that we used for this one? Because it wasn't counting. The strategy that we used here was to find the volume of the first prism and then find the volume of the second prism and then add them together. Stress that we are then adding those two volumes together. I can also see like if you want, you could have done this prism. It's a 2x4x3 and then you have a 2x4x2. This prism here. Like I split it up this way because for me it was easier for me to visualize this tiny one and then this big one here on the bottom. You don't need to share that with kids. If you just split it this way, that's fine. You don't need to do the other way. One method is fine. So before we flip to the next page, we're going to actually summarize what those two strategies were. So the first strategy was counting the number of cubes for each layer and adding them. And then the second strategy was finding the volume of each prism and then adding. Okay, so like we want to stamp that understanding that there are two strategies. Both, however, involve addition.